brother.
Yeah, so we're
Appreciate
so
you.
excited to
Thanks
do
for
that.
having
Yeah,
me.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then we're recording Jay as well. You got that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Who's
Uh,
James Gilbertson?
yeah, I don't
He
know who
keeps
that
showing
guy
up.
is.
He keeps coming to every
Well, I'm gonna,
webinar.
and I'll say it's we've had some issues. We had some issues with our email, and we switched. We had a brand new website. Everything moved over, and when we did, Dan, we normally have you know
We'll have 40,
tons,
50
150
folks.
people registered, 50 people come on, but our email got messed up. So I don't know how many people actually got the email for the webinar. So, but it'll go out to everybody
Well, I
regardless. We'll
see
send it
some. I
out.
see some familiar names, and I
We
see some
do. We
new
see
names. I'm
some
still
and
trying to
some.
figure out who
Yeah.
this James Gilbertson guy is. He shows up every
Yeah.
week. He's on the HGA team, Dan. I'm just trying to give him.
Yeah.
I'm trying to give him a
He's
hard
our
time. I'm trying to
controller.
kick him in the shins a little bit. Hey, everybody. Hi, Lee. Hi, Madison, Michelle, Sandy, James. What's
Yeah.
up? Thanks so much
Yeah.
for coming.
We'll give it another couple of minutes, then we'll
All
kick it
right,
off.
great.
At
Thank
least
you,
a minute. We'll give it a minute. So appreciate you guys being here.
Dan. You're in New York, is that right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, and I'll tell you,
Yeah.
just within the last week, this guy doesn't let me get. He gets up at 05, which means I get up at 05,
Yeah,
right?
I got you. Yeah, yeah.
And it's okay. It's like having having a child. I say that I don't have any children, but I have
Well, you
spoiled
do now.
godchildren. But
Yeah.
that what I'm getting at is just recently I started smelling fall in the air. You can
Oh,
smell it
good.
at
Oh
that
yeah.
time of day,
Yeah,
and I'm
Yeah.
pretty amped up about it.
that's awesome.
There's nowhere like the Northeast in the fall. It's just
You're not
incredible.
wrong. You're not wrong. Jason just went up there. Did you say that? Did you tell Dan Jay? It was that last fall that you were up
It
there?
was last fall. Well, the reason I
Yeah.
went there and who helped me set my trip up was
Was
Dan.
Dan. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Uh,
We went to,
we met you in Vegas, Dan, in
yeah.
June, and then
So we
by
went to
autumn,
Albany.
Jason was in your neck of the
Well, what
woods.
yeah,
happened is Teresa, she's a big Grace Potter fan. I don't know if she's an indie
Yes.
rocker,
Yep. The singer.
huge
Yep.
fan. She was going to be in Albany. I was like,
That's
well,
great.
Dan lives in Albany. I'll see if he wants to go with us. Well, Dan
Oh,
was
you're
up.
in the
He had to
capital.
go
That's
to
cool.
some, he was out training. I think you had a new RD you were training
I did.
and he had to go do that. But he said, I said, well, man, we want to kind of drive around. And so he set us up, sent us to Manchester, Vermont, which was
How cool
absolutely
is that?
everything he described to be. It was phenomenal. And from there, we went over to Kennebunkport, Maine, and back down to Boston. So it was an incredible trip. We missed the foliage change by about 2 weeks,
Hmm.
but it
You
was
said
still,
Kenny Bunkport was one of the most beautiful places you've ever been. I remember you sending me pictures. Was
I,
that right?
it was crazy.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
was,
right
we
there.
stayed in this house right on the ocean, didn't even have a reservation. We just drove around, found this place. And we're looking at this place going, wow, that's really cool. And then finally it dawns that we're sitting there look because it looks out to the east right over the ocean and look, and it's Walker Point, which is George H.W. Bush's the
Yeah.
Bush compound.
Yep.
So we're
Exactly.
literally looking at the same sunrise that, the former president of the United States.
How fun is
Did.
that?
So it was
That's
just a
great.
cool, great place.
Hey,
Well, hey
well,
everybody,
cool. Hey,
welcome. We'll get
yeah,
things
thanks
going.
everybody for
Enough about
coming.
travel.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're the trips and experiences guys, so we'll talk about Jason's
Yeah.
escapades. That's great. Hey, Dan, DeLawyer,
Yes,
DeLawyer,
sir.
yeah,
Yep.
Dan DeLawyer, a friend of ours from Ducks Unlimited, is joining us today. Thanks so much, everybody. Dan's a really fun guy, and he's the perfect guest to have on for putting the fun back in fundraising. So I don't know what episode this is, Jay. I think we're probably around like high 170s, 180 for
Yeah,
the
something like
HJ free
that.
webinar series.
Yeah, I've
Like I
been
said,
doing it for a
I see
while.
some familiar names, I see some new names. So it's good to see everybody. Good to meet you. If you haven't been here before, thank you so much.
Mhm.
Jason Ledlow, Trevor Nelson, HJ Fundraising. We offer the most profitable auction items in fundraising. We've had the good fortune of working with Dan for a bit now as well. And like I said, just a perfect guest to have on to talk about, you'll hear Jason and I talk about this a lot. We'll talk about, you want to create, I mean, it's a loose term, but the FOMO, right? You create such a fun
Mhm.
event and experience for folks that they are afraid to miss it, that they want to come back next year. You're literally interviewing donors and supporters at your event and being creative and making it fun. Now, you're there to raise money. We totally get it. But we are seeing some really amazing events raise a tremendous amount of money by having creative ideas and fun and exciting ways to engage donors and keep them there at the event and bidding, giving, and keep them coming back. So once again, the perfect guest to have on for this, because like I said, Dan's a fun guy, and we want to hear some real stories. I want to hear some case studies about some fun stuff that you've pulled, Dan. And Dan's
Well,
also an expert in the space because he
yeah.
does so many events. But go ahead, Jay,
Yeah.
please.
Well,
Thanks.
I was going to say, so Dan is the director of fundraising and volunteer relations for Region 6 for Ducks Unlimited. Now, what that means is, I think from what's your southernmost, West Virginia, all the way to Maine, you've got all the states they're literally the New England part of the United States is where Dan's at. So all the Ducks Unlimited, everything falls under him. He's got regional directors all up there that work for him, doing a lot of events, doing this. And the way that Ducks Unlimited, and I'm talking about them as an organization because they're an incredible conservation group. The number one, they did raised enough money. They put 1 million acres under conservation last year. It's incredible stuff they're doing. So, and it just so happened that I was at the Ducks Unlimited Deer Creek fundraiser committee meeting last night.
Yeah.
And so it really intrigued me about this because some of the things, and I think this matters for us in the fundraising world, sometimes we get stuck in the same stuff, and everybody does, whether you're doing, banquets like what they do, if you're doing galas, if you're doing golf tournaments, sometimes we get just, this is what we do and this is how we do it. How can we use some different ideas, some different things to get people excited about coming, number one? Because that's one thing I kept hearing these guys talk about. What are we going to do because people want to come back? We want them to come to this event. They want to be excited about it because, these volunteers, along with the regional director here in Oklahoma, that's what they're constantly doing. How do we make ours the best? And they take they get all giddy about it, but they're looking for that stuff. And they talked about certain things like fear of missing out, the flex, these little psychological play things that we talk about in our minds. And so I wanted to have Dan come on to talk about how they think about stuff from in his region, and then just as an organization to do that, to keep, because obviously the people believe in the cause, they're members and stuff like that. But there's a lot of people that come to these banquets that I realized that they're not duck hunters. They're not into ducks. That's not the thing, because they're coming because of who somebody knows. They got invited to come, but yet they want to participate. You guys raise a lot of money from those folks too, right, Dan?
Yes, sir. A ton.
Yeah.
So kind of just give us your philosophy on that, about how you work with these, because how long have you been with Ducks Unlimited, Dan?
20 years. We're knocking on 20 years here. Yeah.
20 years. So
awesome.
You've seen it on all sides. So talk to us about how you guys look at this as far as to do things other than just a normal, you guys obviously have silent auctions and live auctions, but talk to us about the other things that y'all do to raise money, to have fun that, does that.
I'd be happy to. I'll give you a little bit of a snapshot into the background of Region 6. Region 6 is the oldest part of the country, from Maine to Maryland to Ohio. I mean, we all took 7th grade history, the 13th colonies and the Boston Tea Party and everything. It's amazing the mentality that kind of it indicates the age of that particular part of the country. When I first started as a DeFever, I was a regional director for 15 years in Western New York. And these folks wouldn't change at all. I mean, they were dinosaurs, and they were not fast, fluid, and flexible. I got kicked off of more Christmas card lists because I was saying, hey, look, I got a job to do, and this ain't cutting it anymore. Fast forward to my new position, and when I got into New England, it was that mentality on steroids. I mean, for those of you that remember the Pepperidge Farm guy, hey, we can't get that from here. I'm telling you, it's true. They were digging their heels in on everything new. We don't do that here. We do this. When you get to a point to where your members and supporters can tell you what's going to happen next at a dinner. Okay, live auction's up next. I'm going home because I don't want to buy anything. Yeah. I mean, you're a sinking ship. So take into account, these dinners. They're great. They're exactly what got us where we are. They're the foundational component to our success. But by having dinners, we were alienating a vast number of potential supporters. Not everybody wants to go to a Ducks Unlimited dinner and buy the Decoy of the Year or a piece of Terry Redlin artwork. They want to go, and we want everyone's money. I don't care what you do. Union plumber, Supreme Court justice, we want all your money. We want to give you just enough money to get home because I don't want to drive you. But the fact is, it wasn't appealing to everybody. Then we enter this market with firearm frenzies and gun bashes. Well, you wouldn't know it by watching TV, but there is a significant cadre of individuals in the Northeast that really, really like firearms. They like to win them. They like to buy them. Ironically, New Hampshire is the most friendly Second Amendment state in the country. And so
Wow.
when they say live free or die, I mean, they take that to heart. So careful when you go to New Hampshire. But aside from the big metro areas and states like New York, Massachusetts, Maryland, New Jersey, Connecticut, which have very stringent gun laws, it was all bets are off. We were making money hand over fist, in particular during COVID
Mm.
with the firearm frenzies and the gun bashes. So you're thinking to yourself, okay, how does this work with HGA? How are you going to tie these loose ends together? And I'm glad you asked, because what we do is we differentiate the hell out of our product. And our product is not Ducks Unlimited merchandise or the silent auction or the live auction. Our product is the DU event, the DU experience. So while you're there and we do a blitz raffle that you're not planning on being part of or reading about or seeing at a dinner 2 hours down the road, I mean, that is a catalyst for they want to know what's next. So you mentioned Flex. What I love to do is I like to bring to the regional directors my charges that I'm responsible for and the events that I attend. I want people like they got their hand on their wallet like like they're gunfighters, like they're going to draw at any minute. They want to know what's next. And there's something, one of the big gripes we hear, and I say gripe, I'm a little biased, so please give me a little bit of latitude. There are a few things in your life it's okay to be a snob about. I'm a snob about a well-poured pint of Guinness. I'm a snob about fresh seafood, and I'm a snob about Ducks Unlimited because I know we are Division One. Everyone else is JV at best. So that's the reality of it. I don't mean to insult anybody, but the fact is when we're at a DU event and we're able to keep people on their heels and wonder what is next, and they got that $20 bill in their hand and they're almost ready to give it to us, it's because of I guess it's what you had mentioned before, not wanting to miss out on something, but creating that buildup and that excitement and integrating new, exciting, really sexy products and items, lifestyle items into our cadre, our kind of our quiver of arrows. And our trips have been extremely positive in doing that. Our trips, I mentioned lifestyle items, and the trips are part of Turtle Box and Yeti and Sitka and Costa Del Mar sunglasses. Dive Bomb is a big decoy waterfowl merchandise company. You can't swing a dead cat without finding someone with a new call or a new decoy in this industry. So when you make a splash and people really gravitate towards what you're bringing to the table, you've done something. And I had this conversation with one of the fellows at Dive Bomb yesterday about being part of our New York City dinner. And he's ecstatic. He doesn't get that demographic. He's used to hanging out with the 10,000 duck hunters, from 18 to 30 years old that like to drink Busch Light lattes out of a Dive Bomb decoy koozie. And they're talking about whacking and stacking and how many birds they killed and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And that's great. I was 100 years ago, so I can empathize. But, there's room under the tent for everybody. Yeah. So when we talk about these lifestyle products, y'all fit into that group that I think, that is something that I know that other organizations have access to it, but there's no way in hell they use them like we do.
And to that point, Dan, I'm sorry for interrupting, but to that point, how proactive are you about advertising? We're constantly talking to folks about stoking the fire, so to speak, 60, 90 days in advance, sending out the, save the dates and things like that. How how heavy of your advertising push for the dinner, pre-dinner obviously, is weighted in, hey, we've got these new lifestyle items, or we've got these new experiences, or hey, check this out because we haven't had it before. Is that something that you're really leaning into as an organization that you're doing a lot of?
It is.
Yeah.
It's absolutely critical to the success.
Yeah.
These are not impulse buys. An
Good
impulse
call.
buy is the 1911, the handgun of the year. Oh,
Sure.
wow, I'm a 1911 collector. I didn't know that Kimber came out with a DU edition 1911. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'll give you $1,200 for that. You know, you'll
Yeah.
bid it up. You'll bid in the silent auction. You'll bid in the live auction. That's an impulse buy. A trip to Tuscany typically isn't.
Yeah.
Now, I have had people say, "Holy cow, I can't believe you guys have this golf outing to Scotland or Ireland." I mean, my buddies and I have been talking about that. That happens. You know,
Yeah.
that happens, but
Yeah.
not enough for us to lean heavily simply on the point of sale material and the word of mouth. We're having a grand opening and a going out of business sale in a span of 4 hours from 1800 to about 2300 at the latest.
Yeah.
We are
Yeah.
open,
Yeah.
and we have to constantly stack the odds in our favor.
Yeah.
And that pre-event marketing, that social media splash, big social media splash, because we get yanked off of, if Facebook even hears us talking about firearms, we go to Facebook jail. I mean, I don't know how they hear it, but they're on to us big time as
Sure.
far as
Sure.
just pictures or
Sure.
verbiage.
Uh-huh.
So a way to really kind of excite our attendees on a
Hmm.
social media standpoint
Hmm.
is offering those trips.
Hmm.
So an HCA is a big part of that. So we do that no more than 12 weeks out, and
Hmm.
simply because the way that we do our business is, I mean, we start planning as a regional director with most of our events. The actual operational components are planned anywhere from 14 to 12 weeks out. And
Gotcha.
then there's some wrap up and some pieces to pick up after that.
Hmm.
But so we don't do much outside of 14 weeks. And that's
Gotcha.
primarily social media.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
also have inserts because there's a lot of people out there that they don't get on Facebook. They don't buy tickets online.
Yeah.
So we have an insert. We fold it up.
Hmm.
We put it in the paper invitation. And
Okay. Cool.
on that is the trips that we have offered with
Hmm.
QR codes.
Hmm.
So as you can imagine, I mean, we're doing everything we can to get that younger generation, but we still get
I
a
was gonna
larger,
ask.
an
Yeah.
older group of folks that they think a QR code is some sort of thing you need a vaccination for.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're not using them.
You said something about the younger generation, and I'm fascinated by this because we hear a lot about it from nonprofits, organizations from all walks, Dan, where they're like, hey, listen, we're really keyed in on the younger generation of donors, in your case, members, donors, and the demo itself. And so, like, what are you, I mean, obviously, having exciting items, having an exciting event, like, what kind of testing or aha moments or things like that have you injected into a lot of your dinners to appeal to the younger demo, and like what's worked? Maybe you can give us some hits and misses if you like, but we prefer to run with the hits. But
Yeah, I'll give you a couple of examples. When we have these events,
Mhm.
we're looking at, dollars spent per attendee.
Yeah,
Our
makes sense.
our gun bashes, if we've got one of the biggest gun bashes in the country
Hmm.
in New York. The biggest one is in Delaware.
Mm.
And it's a different demographic, and it's different spending habits than, say, folks that attend the New York City dinner,
Hmm.
where it's
Hmm.
limited to 250 seats, and
Hmm.
we are targeting the wealthiest sportsmen and sportswomen, anglers and hunters in the tri-state area.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you, before I came on board as a DeFever, we didn't have ladies there. The only ladies that were at the New York City dinner were selling raffle tickets. And when I started as a DeFever, that went out the window. We started changing the demographic. I explained to these guys that there are a ton of lady philanthropists out there that want to be part of and
Yeah.
there's
Mhm.
nothing like a lady attendee who wants something in the live auction. Because if you're going to beat her, you're paying through the nose, brother. She is going to make you pay for it. I've seen it.
Yeah, and passionate about obviously habitat and conservation, of course. I
Yeah.
think, well, it's like, well, why would we say no to any avenue or any vertical, so to
It's that
speak,
old
as
boy
far as
network. We've been
yeah,
trying to, get out from underneath that umbrella for years, and we
yeah,
are.
yeah,
We absolutely are. But to get back to your question, Trevor, one of the things that we do is rather than offer a bourbon experience or a dove hunt or a Tuscany trip in a silent auction with a reserve at some of these events where we have a younger demographic, we will sell raffle packages.
mm,
And what we will
sounds
do
fun too.
is it's
Yeah,
only paper. So incrementally, if somebody buys, we'll offer $100 raffle package, a $250 raffle package, and a $500 raffle package.
hmm,
And if you buy a 250 or 500, you get, one chance or two chances at one of these trips of your
yeah,
choice.
yeah,
And we're building the cost of that. It's a little bit of a roll of the dice,
sure.
it's a little bit of a gamble. So when you make that decision, it's like when Cortez burned his ships, man. You're motivated. You burn your ships, you're staying. So
Yeah.
once we make that decision that we're doing it, we're in for a penny and for a pound, and it's never come back to bite us in the backside.
I just
So
think raffles are such a fun way
with
to raise
that,
money. Yeah,
the ability to take that trip into something they're already going to participate in, but we've essentially not forced them, but we've really kind of enticed them into doing it 10x. Instead of buying a $10 ticket, they're
Hmm.
buying $500 packages.
So,
And
but
it's
yeah,
worked out
so
very well for us.
well,
no, I
this
bet, I
so
bet
it's
y'all
real
are great at
interesting
it.
that you kind of talk about bringing everything in the lifestyle items. So I'm at this event last night, and they sell their big mega. They call them a mega pack. You get
Mhm.
$1,000, $1,000 mega pack. They've got all the stuff. And they said, hey, this year we're going to sell. I don't know if it's 10 or 12. We're going to sell super mega pack,
Hmm.
double the price. They get a little bit more stuff.
Mhm.
They get a little bit more deal, but the amount of stuff that they get does not cost them any more money. Now, the person buying it gets, instead of getting one chance for that trip, they get three chances. Instead of
Mhm.
getting, their mega pack comes in. I talked about the flex showing what you bought, instead of a little thing that's coming in, like it's like a Yeti Go cooler thing they're putting it in. So it was a
Cool.
really cool thing to do that.
Yeah.
And then one of the things they did to get to over the top is they're putting a Louis Vuitton purse in it.
Oh, fun.
For that way, because everybody that's coming
Appeal to
there are
every
all
demo.
couples,
Yeah,
and all of a
yeah,
sudden, exactly. So
yeah,
if somebody's sitting there going that, and she's like, look, you came here, I want you to buy that one because I want the purse.
yeah.
And so doing those things, and the way I think that works across the board to everybody is to start thinking strategically at the higher dollar level. We all, we talk about golden ticket raffles all the time.
Mhm.
Easiest thing for somebody to do. You sell 100 tickets for $100, raise 10 grand. Sell 100 tickets for 250, raise $25,000. And, we would do things like a Rolex raffle we did one time. And this is because you said it's only paper. So we had a deal where you could get 10 tickets for $100 or a double wingspan, literally tickets from fingertip to fingertip. We didn't care because it doesn't matter, for 250. And once they saw that, they go, well, I want
Why would I
$250.
do the 250? Yeah, yeah,
Why
exactly.
wouldn't I do that? Because I
Yeah.
want and so it's just using those little psychological pieces. And then the amazing thing to me, Dan, and you tell me how you guys, because I know you guys do all these same things. How do you guys, that peer pressure, fear of missing out, all that stuff? Like you'd see these guys walking around with these tickets wrapped around their neck, and they go, what's that for? Oh, it's for the Rolex raffle.
Yeah, you're incentivizing
I didn't even
them.
know they're having one. Where's that at?
Mm.
And so talk to us about like how you guys peer into that piece of it.
It's a great
Psychology
segue.
piece.
You mentioned flex, and I mentioned the what's next factor, kind
Yes.
of shaking, wonder. I'm in, just hit the starter, hit the trigger. The next thing I'm a big fan of is perceived value, because
Okay.
perception is reality, right?
Hmm.
So perceived value, dovetailing into what you said. Do you want $100 worth of tickets, or you want 250?
Yeah.
100, 250. Oh, well, I want the 250. And it's the perceived value. So
Hmm.
again, I use the New York City dinner and the Boston dinner as examples, um, because we didn't just sell trips outright in the live auction or the silent auction there. Also, we did a raffle, and we called it the Get Out of the Doghouse raffle. And we have these little metal dog kennels, and they got a number on them. They're like goose bands, but they're dog kennels. And essentially, what it was every one of you guys out there, I guarantee you're going to do something to mess up your relationship this year. Get this Louis Vuitton purse. This is a Get Out of the Doghouse raffle.
Yep.
All right. So we had the gun of the year. We had a high end rifle of the year. We had a Louis Vuitton purse, and we had a trip. One winner picked their choice. So we had something for everybody. We sold 100 of them for $100 a piece. We brought in 10K. The guy that won it, guy I know, and yes, I was right, because he pisses his wife off a lot. He won the Louis Vuitton. And so he's got it, and he thanked me. Thank you very much. This is a get out of jail free card for me. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of truth to that having that type of levity, because people, if you have options, these guys are like, look, man, I've got a lot of firearms. I'd like another one, but I'd really like this Louis Vuitton purse, because
Hmm.
I want to bring something home to my wife. Or if
Yeah.
she's with me, I'm definitely getting the Louis Vuitton purse, because I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
So getting back to what you said, it's that perceived value. They can walk out of there with a $2,800 Louis Vuitton purse for $100.
Yeah.
Even people that have more discretionary income than others really like a deal, oftentimes more.
Yeah.
So that's a way that we've used these trips, in what I would construe as or call a non-traditional manner.
Yeah. I really like you said a few things. We're such huge fans of just raffles. You all live in that space, and I'm using that term loosely, of course. You can call them drawings, whatever we like, chances to win. Folks compute these chances very, very well. Really get involved. It really stokes the fire. Yes, perceive value, fear of missing out, all these things, buying the tickets. My wife wants one, I want, well, yada yada, all these things. I also think, though, once again, like big picture, it's just such a great way to get excitement. You're raising money the whole time. There's an emotional component about wanting to win and things of that nature. And I just think that it's for any organization not doing it. I think it's just such a massive revenue enhancer, but it's also gamified, and it's really, really fun. And then you said something also, I'm going micro now. You called it the get out of jail free. And I think you mentioned being, having levity about it and not overthinking, the moniker that you used, for the raffle, with the Louis Vuitton and the trips and all that stuff. I think that's a great branding opportunity.
I used to do it all the time.
Yeah, I
I'd
think
say,
it's
whenever
great.
I was back in
Yeah.
my auctioneer days, I would say, guys, this is your get out of jail free card right here.
Yeah,
And
sure.
there'd
Yeah,
be
yeah,
somebody
totally.
sitting over there going, yep, I need one.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
it's not a matter of if, it's just when we're gonna get ourselves in trouble.
I
yeah,
love it. I
But
love it.
I want to just kind of bring this back around for just a second.
Mhm.
So one of the things, Ducks Unlimited does 4,000 fundraisers a year. That's a lot. Okay, tremendous amount of stuff. They do, Dan's talking about. They tie a lot of stuff in with firearms, guns, things like that, because that's just the world they live in. But how we translate that back to what we're doing, maybe you're not going to do that, and that's okay.
Totally fun.
In fact, 90% of all, I mean, other than the stuff that we do in the conservation space with them, they're very seldom is anybody going to do it. Maybe they have a shotgun that's on the silent auction. They use it for a last champion gift, last champion prize or something like that.
Mhm.
But what I think is really the point here is, you brought this up, Dan. You said you've got 4 hours. You've done all the work, all the planning. These things are hard to do. You spent the effort, time, money to get people to show up. Don't disappoint them.
Yeah.
Make it fun. Give them some reason to have a good time. Be an equal opportunity receiver. Be willing to do multiple things. One of the things that I see, I had somebody say this to me the other day. They go, well, I just don't think we've got time this year. I'm like, well, when are you going to have time? Because guess
Yeah.
what? Next year it's going to take you the same thing.
Yep.
And about raising money, use every possible opportunity you have. And I think that's your point, isn't it, Dan? Use every opportunity you have to get every nickel that you can in this span of time. You
Yeah.
said this, we're having a grand opening and a going out of business all in 4 hours. We got to get it all done.
Yeah. And one of the things that I caution the committee member, the regional directors in particular, don't fall in love with a plan. Be fast, fluid, and flexible, man. If you see some players in the room that you don't know, and there are things you can do to kind of ascertain. Certainly, you don't measure anybody by how they look and what they're wearing. Because I've seen a dairy farmer come in like he just got out of the milk barn and give us, yeah, I'll buy 10 big dog tickets for $100 a piece, and gives us $1,000 cash. So do not judge the room at all. But if you see that there's some players in that room that might be interested, I mean, cut a deal. If there's somebody that bought one trip, ask them if they want to buy a second. Hey, look, I got 2 of these Tuscany trips. I'll sharpen my pencil if you want to buy another one. I bet you got 4 buddies that want to go. And he's like, really? No kidding. This isn't one and done? No, I'll sell you 10 of them. They don't know that. There's this assumption that I've got one and that's it, and I'm buying it, damn it. Walk up to them and ask them, cut a deal. It's not going to cost you a dime to ask them. Most people are like, you know what? I didn't realize that. Can I get back to you tomorrow? Hey man, if you can get back to me tomorrow, absolutely. But as long as you're buying this first one, we're all in. When you start to just say, well, this is what we decided, so this is what we're doing, that's just that is a negative. That is just too the last thing you want to be at a fundraising event is rigid and stoic.
Oh my gosh, you just took
At
my
all.
words right out of my mouth.
You know?
You took the words right out of my mouth. It's funny because you do so many events, Dan. I just love that you keep saying, I mean, I love the fast, fluid, and flexible. I think it's awesome. I've never heard anyone say that. But you just say, but you end it with flexibility, and you just said rigidity is probably the antithesis of sound fundraising. And, when we got on, I was like, the worst thing you can say is, oh, this is the way we've always done it. And you were talking about ushering out the old guard and the good old boy mentality and what have you, quote unquote. I just think that rigidity is probably the biggest thing that is, pushing at the chest of a sound fundraising event, and not being flexible, like you said. Also, I love the case study that you bring up about, reaching out to the person about buying another trip, or maybe you saw someone else bidding on the item and you can sell multiple. Great, have that conversation, because we're always trying to encourage and nudge folks in the moment. Most of the folks that we talk to, Dan, are doing like 1, maybe 2 events a year, right?
Yeah.
But we're just like, hey, someone put their paddle in the air for the Tuscany trip and they didn't win it. You should, and maybe you've never met them before. Well, you should go introduce yourself, because maybe you've just identified a $5,000 level donor. But B, absolutely have the conversation, because we don't want that someone was ready to give at that level. We want them, we want them to give, right? And
yeah, they've got $5,000
burning
burning a hole in their pocket.
Yes.
Don't them.
Yes.
If
And don't be like
if we've got a trip and the reserve is $6,000, let's say, just for math purposes, and we've got a few players in the room, every single time my expectation is for the regional director to walk up to that individual, that guy, that girl, shake their hand, thank them profusely for getting the number up to the reserve. Without you, we're not selling this, because you helped us get up to the reserve. Oh, and by the way, you dropped out at 5,900. You're back in at 61. What if I just gave you one for $6,000? You, instead of spending another 200, you're spending 100. And half the time, people are like, "Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that." And it's a win, but they're already stuck in this rut, thinking there's only one of everything here, for whatever, totally. Because that's how it's always been. Yeah, we only have one, and the auctioneer would say that, and the committee members would say, if you're going to buy it today, folks, you better buy it now, because there's only one. That ain't the truth. I mean, things fall out the back of a truck all the time. You know what I mean?
I love it. Yeah, totally. You're speaking our language, man.
We do that. We do that with silent auction bid sheets too.
This is okay.
Talk about that.
This is where I wanted to get to.
Talk
about, because I keep hearing people in the DU world, they go, "Well, I just redlined it."
Never. Never, never, ever do I do that. I never, ever.
Tell
I
me
hate
about,
it.
talk about it.
Don't want to do it at all because I mean you are limiting yourself.
Well, tell
You
us
have
what
no
that,
idea.
Yeah,
tell
tell
us
us how
what
to
it
sell
is
multiples in
first.
the silent auction
Tell
from
us
the
what it
So
is,
beginning.
and
Yeah.
when you have an item that let's say it's a Tuscany trip and you open it up for the reserve and you redline it, you literally take a Sharpie, you draw a red line, say on this number right here, it's like a buy it now.
Yep.
And you know, guys do that and they swear by it and they do it with a lot of products. They think, okay, well, I'm just going to double my money. If the decoy of the year cost me $80, I'm going to redline it at 160. We'll double our investment. But the decoy of the year goes for 300, 500 sometimes. Why are you doing that? It's the same thing with these trips. If you've got, and one of the things I wanted to say that I haven't yet is setting yourself apart, meaning, yeah, we've got a bourbon trail experience, and that's cool. But you know what's really cool? When it comes with a bottle of Weller's and a bottle of Blanton's and a bottle of this and a bottle, 6 bottles of, remember, perceived value. Bottle of Blanton's is only $65,
Yeah.
right? But find it for 65 because you're not gonna.
Yeah.
You buy a bottle of Blanton's, you're going to pay 150 to 200 off
Yeah.
of one of these clearinghouses online. And it's not worth it, but people buy it all day. So they're looking at this group of bourbon and the bourbon trip, not just the trip.
Yeah.
So set yourself apart and enhance that. Get
Good call.
airline vouchers to enhance your trip, you know, to Tuscany.
As a
Getting
nudge.
back to what
Yeah.
you said about the red line, when you're redlining an item, you are just giving yourself a speed limit. I might have mentioned I'm pretty biased about Ducks Unlimited. We don't have a speed limit. We're a Ferrari. I mean, we turn and burn. We want to blow the engine and get a new engine. That's what we want to do. So when we redline, we're doing a disservice to that Ferrari. The Ferrari is hating us for driving them. We don't redline anything on a silent auction bid sheet. And the reason being is it is too conservative. It limits us, and you have no idea who in that room is going to spend $8,000 on a trip when you've limited to it at 68.
Great
So
footnote.
let's talk about,
let's talk about selling multiples in the silent
so-
too. I want you to give us your equation on that or formula.
So
on that.
tell us
Yeah.
about how that, because even though you haven't redlined it, because we recommend all the time, if you've got 3 people, let's say that, you know, Trevor was 65, you're 66, and I'm 6,700, I win. Okay. Why in the world wouldn't I go over to Dan, and especially if you've got something that you can do multiple times? If it's not something you can do multiple, you can't do this. But let's just say it's like a trip to Tuscany or whatever, and you go over to Dan, and I go, Dan, hey, you didn't get it, but you're at 6,600. I got another one. Are you still good at 66? You're going to say yes.
All in.
You're going to say yes 90% of the time. I think it's 99% of the time. They're going to go,
I'm not going to disagree with you, Jay.
I'm
not going to disagree with you, Jay, but I'm going to give Dan the opportunity if you do it a different way. Dan, do you do it a different way, or would you meet that person at their last bid amount? Kind of give us your take on that.
It's almost exactly the way that it was just described.
Okay,
I mean,
cool. Yeah.
it's very simple. You know, and we do it in the live auction too. I mean, in the auction, it's you know, sometimes we don't have a choice over our auctioneer. It's the same dude who's been doing taxes for this dude for 30 years. He's got the, you know, he's got the personality of a dry sponge, and you just want to send your head in the next room because it's awful, but you have to contend with it. So at those events, you have to be extra diligent to go up and personally make that ask or that appeal to that individual that missed out in the live auction or the silent auction. When you have someone who's charismatic and engaging, you kind of give them the green light before the event and you circle those items that we have multiple. So if he's going to do, you know, one of the trips that Ducks Unlimited has through our approved outfitter program is the Pebble Beach experience.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
We sell out every year. Those things are scarce as hen's teeth, and they go for a considerable amount of money. So if we have extra ones at an event, we sell them. I mean, this was a great, and I'm going to ask you guys about being part of this event next year in Ohio. This was an unbelievable windfall for us. Their first year, they raised $110,000. Year one, it was 47 guys. 47. And he was so apologetic to me because he didn't sell it out at 50. He said, Dan, I'll do it better next year. I'm like, really, Joe? Oh, because you disappointed the hell out of me this year.
Yeah.
It's not. It was awesome. This
Yeah.
year, they raised 167,000 because we sold trip after trip after trip after trip, multiple trips. Fly fishing trips. Hey, do you have another one? Yes, I do. And that's the beauty of having someone like me at the event. And I give all of my people a lot of latitude. I give them freedom of movement.
Yeah.
Do not say, well, let me ask. Let me find out. You make a decision. And if it's the wrong decision, then you don't do it again. But make any decisions better than no decision. So when somebody says, yeah, I'll get another one, I'll find one.
Yeah.
I'm never telling them. I'm never telling them, shit,
That's
I wish
fast
you
part
would
of
have
being
said
fast
we
food
call
and
that
flexible.
we
That's the
want to
fast
say
part.
yes.
Yeah.
We want to say yes.
I'll find one.
I call it, I'll ask for forgiveness later.
Yeah, that's the truth too. So
Well,
these back bidders are a big part of our bottom line. They're a huge part of our bottom line.
It's an opportunity, man. It's a big blue ocean. We have a question, and it was actually we blew through 40 minutes. Holy smokes. Hey, a call for questions. Dan's an expert, does a ton of events, obviously knows what he's talking about in fundraising. Folks, take advantage of him being here with us right now. Hit us with questions. Kenzie, thanks so much for coming back. Kenzie's got a great question. I have my answer. I want to hear
I
Jason's
just read
answer,
it.
and I want to hear your answer, Dan. So Kenzie asked, do you find that the donor, for instance, who purchased a trip at 5,600 gets disgruntled if you offer the other bidder that lost the trip, if you offer them an additional one at 5,500?
We never do that. If it's one item, let's say it's the Tuscany trip and we're live auctioning it.
Yes, sir.
Right? And Trevor, you win it for $7,000, and I go up to Jason who dropped at 69.
Okay.
What my appeal is, I'd say, Jason, you were a player at 69. In order to beat that guy over there, you had to go to 71. What if I just give you one for the same thing that I gave the bidder, the high bidder? Okay. So you're both paying the same amount.
Okay.
The only time is when we offer a winner's choice.
Yeah.
And
got it.
The winner paid that extra money to make the choice.
You don't want to ostracize someone that way. Yep.
Outbid them. But we never do that. Kenzie, that would be a death punch to us. And I tell people, I'm sorry. Yeah, come on. It's only $100 difference. It's $100 difference to you. But if it's not the right thing to do. And I say, what if you were the winner and I did this to the back bidder and he or she saved $100? Usually people are like, yeah, I guess you're right.
Hey, let me.
Well, see, I want to make a deal. So let me tell you something that we see practice, and we do this all the time. And I'm going to give you a deal how this made an organization $100,000. Okay. So we have a trip. It's Punta Gabriel. It's a awesome trip to a villa down in Costa Rica.
Yep.
So the auctioneer tells it. It gets up. It's at 44, 43, 44, 45,000. Got 3 people working on it. When he gets there, he's kind of got it down. He's got it down to 2 guys, and he knows the trip costs $15,000. He's at 43,000, 44, 45, 46, somewhere around there. He finally goes, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do something really incredible tonight. He goes, I've got Dan here, 45, Trevor's at 46. You're trying to bid 46. What I'm going to do is back it down. They backed it to $43,000. 4 people bought the trip at $43,000. They netted over $100,000.
It's huge.
Everybody. I did this with a trip to the Masters. Brings $26,000. Got a guy at 27, guy at 26. I said, tell you what, you're $27,000. You're my high bidder. You're $26,000. How about we do this? I'm going to sell it to you for $26,000 and you for $26,000. These 2 guys that have been bidding on each other were high-fiving each other.
Yeah.
Everybody, because
big excitement. Yeah.
And so
big opportunity for the organization, obviously.
I will tell you, Kenzie, I have a little different thing on that.
I want to do a follow-up question after you're done about this.
An auction going at the $100 increments at $100. I've been doing this for a long. I've never seen anybody, and I'm talking about the galas and things like that. And everybody's got to do their own thing. And I'm not saying this is not a disagreement. It's just a different point. If I paid $5,600 for it, and somebody else at 55, doesn't matter. I don't care because if
That's a
I'm there,
fundraiser.
I care about the cause.
Got
I
it.
really, because I'm here,
Yeah.
you know, hey, this was that $100 that I paid is going to help some kid with cancer. Okay. So what am I going to do? Take that away? No. And so I think you've got to think about who
It
your
depends on the donor too.
organization
It depends
is,
on the
who your
personality.
group is,
Yeah.
and what that is. So,
Yeah.
you know, but you've got to be sensitive to it.
Yeah. Good call.
I did this for 30 years. I did it like Dan's talked about, always, you know, pushing up, and it is 50% of the time they're going to do it.
Yeah.
I will tell you though, because if your choice, you don't have a, if it's like the high bidder gets the choice of something, you don't have a choice. You have to do it this way.
Yeah.
But if you don't, it's 99% that if you drop back down to that person, you'll sell it out.
Yeah.
And you know, we had somebody sell a trip 37 times. 37 times they made it $37,000 because they backed up to $2,600 and sold it 37 times at one event.
Let me ask you a follow-up question though.
But think about this:
weeds.
if they'd have sold that, if they'd have went and sold it out the top, and let's say it brings $3,000, $4,000,
yeah, they would have netted.
They'd have netted, you know,
$2,500. Yeah.
$4,000, and that'd have been it.
Dan, let me ask you a question. Just once again, like I said, just getting in the weeds a little bit. Do you ever, just so if someone's sensitive to ostracizing the high bidder, you got someone at 6 and you got someone at 59, do you ever just go to both of them and go, hey, I know you bid 6 and you're watching $100 walk out the door.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
you're
we
just
do.
like, hey, I'm going to give it to both of you at 59 just so we have no hard feeling, you know, like everyone's happy, that kind of thing. That you're okay with that? Or
We absolutely do, especially when we have, if they're allocated trips, if we've only got 6 of them, no, you know, we just don't.
Yeah.
Because like some of these real high end fly fishing trips to the Yucatan.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, these are big dollars, and the reason being, it's not because we're going to miss out on an opportunity. It's because if I've only got 6 of them, I got to take one away from Boston, and those guys are pissed.
Right, I got
Pissed.
you.
You know what I
makes
mean?
sense. Yeah.
But it's with the unlimited trips, and that's kind of I think that's what the difference between HGA and our approved outfitter. A lot of our approved outfitters with DU is, with HGA we're unlimited. I mean, we can sell 25 Tuscany trips. I can't sell 25 per D waterfowl and dove hunts in Uruguay because I don't have 25 of them.
Totally.
So yes.
Yeah. Oh, then.
Well, and I think
I have a question about that. Yeah.
You know, and here's the thing. I think that's exactly the point. It's about what do you have? How do you have it going? I mean, we've had I've done events where somebody donated something and they said, look, I'm going to donate the first one. If it brings $5,000, I'll sell a second one.
Yeah, I love that. Have that
but
conversation.
If it brings 4,900, I'm only going to sell it one time.
Have that conversation with the donor beforehand, right? Yeah.
And having that, because then whenever you go, hey, look, I got $5,500 over here, and Dan, I know you're at 5,400. If you just give 5,500, I'm going to go twist Trevor's arm. He's going to give us another trip. Now, I already know he's going to say yes. If you'll do that, I'm going to get him to donate another one.
Yeah.
And Dan's going to go, yeah, of course, because you're talking about this deal. So I go back to the first 3 words you said: being fast, flexible, and
fast, fluid, and flexible. Sir, I wrote it down.
And flexible.
I'm stealing that from Dan.
Flexible.
Fast, fluid, and flexible.
Oh, yeah. I'd love that.
Yeah. Hey, while we got you, silly question. But I mean, because so many folks are going to watch this over time, and they're going to they have no idea that even items like this exist. This is your world, Dan. You know, but we were talking about just selling multiples in the silent, selling multiples in the live, and why that's a great thing. Why, even if it's a donated home from someone on your board, have that conversation so you can possibly sell it a couple of times so you can maximize your efforts the night of. Because like you said, we got, 2 hours, 4 hours, whatever it might be, depending on your organization. Maximize how much money we're going to make in that room in that particular evening. But you're recommending, of course, that we have items where there's scarcity. I got 1 of these. And then there's items where we can sell 20 of these. You're recommending that's just a good practice, I'm assuming, right?
Absolutely.
Especially for what you all do. Yeah.
Silly
question, but yeah.
I have an unlimited catalog for Argentina dove hunts, whether they're $2,500 with a fair market value of $7,500, to 10,000 with a fair market value of 20. We sell as many as we possibly can. And oftentimes what I'll do is I've got a buddy who's a carver, and I'll say, I want you to carve 50 dove decoys. Cool. I don't want them, heirloom quality. I just want it. I want them to look like a mourning dove. And it'll be a stick and a piece of wood. It looks just like this sumbitch right here. I mean, frankly, the only reason I have this against some of these other very, very nice decoys is for sentimental reasons.
Yeah.
Because
I love it.
One day my buddy's going to be room temperature and this might be worth something. That's what I tell him anyway.
I love
that.
But
he'll do 50 of these and we'll put it right on the point of sale material next to the board and the description and all of it. And it's just a way for people to walk up and look and read and say, hey, look at this. We can do that, And when we get 5 guys that are bidding on that bid sheet and the high bidder is at 2,900, I'll split the difference. I'll get all 4 of them. All right, you guys, you 4 lost. You, sir, you're the winner. We got 5 guys here. I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to sell 5 of them for 2,700. Each one of you gets 2,700, a $2,700 trip tonight. Cool. Well, do I get a decoy too? That's their first question. Well, no, only the winning bidder gets the decoy. The decoy is the deal breaker. It's crazy.
Funny.
It's crazy. It's the little
I don't get the candy bar. I don't get the candy bar.
Exactly. Exactly.
Hey, Dan,
awesome.
I've got just a practical question.
Love it.
Maybe give a percentage or something. How much of your total pull do you think it's by making these deals? How much do you think you add to, on an average event? How much do you guys add by doing deals, working this stuff, and really working the room?
Being outgoing, taking advantage of it. Yeah.
No less than 25% of our bottom line is increased by making deals. That's no less. There are events where we double our money because of the amount of trips. Our trips.
I want to just say something. Who here could use an extra 25% to their bottom line on your event?
Of course.
Anybody show of hands?
Yeah.
I think nobody's going to say no to that.
Just be outgoing.
The beauty of it is it costs you nothing. Mm-hmm. It costs you nothing to do that. You are, it takes a long time for a raccoon to find a fat crawfish. They pick up a lot of rocks, but on that rock where they pick that little bugger up and have lunch, they're really jazzed up about it because it costs them nothing to pick up those other 99 rocks. I mean, that's what we do. We are always picking up rocks to find something underneath them. And this is costing you nothing. If anything, this is a conduit for you to really foster a relationship with some of the players that you wouldn't otherwise have an opportunity to do so. I mean, if I'm going into a room and people know that I'm the town father and I've got all sorts of discretionary income, people ask me for things all the time. Hey, would you do this? Would you do that? If the perception is you're doing someone a favor and cutting them a deal, and it's for the good of the order, it's not for your pocket. It's for, the Children's Miracle Network or, the local, the Children's House, St. Jude's or Ducks Unlimited. Now, Children's Miracle Network and St. Jude's, those are heart. I mean, nobody's going to say no to that. You're a soulless ghoul if you want a deal there. But at a Ducks Unlimited event, you give people deals, they are usually very appreciative. Yeah. And it gives you that opportunity to thank someone and get a little bit more intimate from a conversation standpoint with that player that you wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to do so with.
That's equity. You give them a dove, they're going to remember it.
Hey guys,
love the doves, man.
If you got your event coming up and you're wanting to talk more about this stuff, reach out and sign up for a coaching session.
Yep.
This is something you can go to hjfundraising.com, put on there, click on coach. It doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to use free stuff. We don't care. We'd love to help you work through some of this stuff, talk about this, find out what you have going on, how this can work better for your event. If you want to, if there's some trips and stuff that's going to help you raise some money, we'll help you there too.
Cool.
it's not a prerequisite, because all the things that Dan's talking about, we love to help people see and do. And
Can't
Dan,
guarantee that we're not going to steal
thank you
Dan's.
enough for coming and doing this. We're going to give something away here in just a second.
I can't guarantee if you sign up for our free coaching center that we're not going to steal Dan's fast, fluid, and flexible phrase.
Oh, I've already stole it. It's mine.
Yeah, please do. Please do. And you guys, if please feel free to pass my intel on. If anyone has any further questions that we couldn't
thank you, Dan.
because of the time, I'll be more than happy to talk to someone. I prefer to talk to someone and hear him on the phone. But if you want to email me, most likely I'll respond.
We were being sensitive about putting your business in the street, man. But it seems how you offered. Thank you so much, man. That means a lot. It means a lot.
We're going to send a recording out of this tomorrow. It'll go out to everybody that registered and everybody.
Thanks, Dan. That's cool, man.
That have it. We're going to be able to share it. And then we'll also have Dan's email on there. So if you want to reach out, you got a question for him, how he does one of his games, raffles, things like that. Because he's just, I'm going to say, I know Dan loves to do this and he loves people because, like I said, I was talking to him. I said, hey, Dan, I'm going to be up there for this concert. And I said, well, where do you think we should go? And I mean, immediately he was on it. And it was one of our favorite trips. And we've traveled a lot. It's one of our favorite trips ever.
Yeah,
so,
he's bragging,
hey, Trevor, we got to give something away.
Let's do it, man. Bring out the wheel, dude. Bring out the wheel.
Bringing out the wheel.
Yeah, and Dan, and everybody, once again, giving some praise to Dan and his experience. Small dinners, small towns, huge dinners, huge towns. Dan's done it all. So really,
Lee Bahinsky, Lee, you're the winner.
Oh, cool, Lee.
So
all right.
Reach up there and just touch the button, and there it goes.
Lee, is this your first time on the webinar? And don't be mad if I'm asking and you've been here before. So thank you. Right on. Okay, there you go.
You got $300 in HGA bucks, man.
Now you're logging. You have an account with the HGA bank, and you got $300 to use.
Yeah,
so we just deposited in your account. That's awesome.
Basically, that means that if you use just any item that you use for fundraising with HGA, you get a $300 credit, and it's awesome. Absolutely, we're excited to do that. So
our team will be in contact with that.
Yeah, you'll get an email with the information on it. So it's super, super easy, and anyway, we can help.
And if we twist Dan's arm, we can
get
you a dove decoy. Maybe we can probably get you a dove decoy if we twist Dan's arm a little bit. You got me going now, man. Yeah, that's awesome, Dan. So, hey, man,
thank you,
man. That you
appreciate
really appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for everything you do. It's awesome.
Really thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate the offer. I really appreciate the opportunity, and hopefully, I'll be seeing you guys down the road.
You will, and this is your invite to come back at some point as well. And thanks for keeping us laughing and smiling. It's actually good for us for an hour. Thanks for chopping it up with us, man. Means a lot. Appreciate you.
You got it, bro. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks everybody.
All right, you too. Bye, everybody. Thanks, Jay. Thanks, Dan. See ya.